What's up everybody? Welcome back to 16 Fix for another Bargain Bin Bros video. Today we're going to be taking a look at some Batmen from the movie The Batman. And since there are so many versions from InArt and from Hot Toys, we're going to talk through a strategy on how you can determine which version or versions, if any, you should be adding to your collection. And we'll also discuss if any of these figures are destined for the bargain bin. So let's go. Here are some questions I've been asking myself as I navigate trying to collect figures from the Batman line. A lot of these are commonsensical, but hopefully they'll be helpful to you as you formulate your strategy. Now, the first thing I've been asking myself is, what version do I really need? Do you really need a Bruce Wayne? Do you really need a bat signal? Do you need a bat computer? Right? So really determining what representation is really necessary for the collection. Also, posability. I'm into posing figures not as extreme as others, but for some, posability might be a big factor, and there are a lot of unknowns when it comes to both the Hot Toys and InArt versions. Also, the price. What's the best value? So we're going to get into all the iterations amongst both companies in just a bit, but are you after best value? Do you want just the best looking representation possible? It's also a factor. Also, future Batman figures. Hopefully there are additional figures from the Batman movie, such as Catwoman and the Riddler and the Penguin. And we also know InArt is going to be doing a Christian Bale Batman and a Ben Affleck Batman in their first wave. So there's a lot of room for Batman figures coming to the collection. So something you should be aware of on top of all the other heat that we're getting amongst all the other properties. Also, where to buy. Obviously, the InArt version isn't licensed for a lot of regions, and so you wouldn't be able, for example, if you're in North America, to buy from Sideshow or other local comic shops. And so that's something you might have to take into consideration. If a figure comes damaged or if there's a recall, it might not be as easy. For me, that's less important because I'm used to buying from overseas, but for some it may be very important. And also, will there be discounts in the future? So we'll kind of end the video talking about if any of these are going to end up in the bargain bin, or at the very least have some coupons attached in the near future. Before we get into the various versions, I just want to take a moment to appreciate how beautiful this InArt release is. We will talk a bit more about the Bruce Wayne, but specifically the Batman is really what I'm looking at here, and I just think they nailed this. Everything from the colors to seemingly their material choices to the proportions. I know folks are saying he's a bit thin, but he was pretty thin in the movie. To the head sculpt, I think it looks just like Pattinson, specifically, again, the Batman version. And both the rooted and sculpted hair, I think, look really good. I really struggle to have any nitpicks with this figure. Overall, I'm very, very happy with how this release came out. And I was really happy with the Hot Toys version as well. So I think that there's just a lot of really great options for Batman 1/6 scale collectors, and it's just a great time to be a collector. Let's run through all the editions for InArt for both Batman and Bruce Wayne. And holy shit, there are a lot of editions. With this, plus the Hot Toys, there are just way too many options, so let's get into it. The first edition is the Batman Standard Edition at $380. Now this price is from 1/6 kit, and obviously shop around, as we always encourage you to do, and go with the retailer that best suits you. Now this version of Batman comes with the sculpted hair. They've also got a premium edition of the Batman at $550. Now this one comes with the rooted hair and with a bat computer. There's also a Bruce Wayne Standard Edition at $291. This one has the sculpted hair and some various accessories. Then there's the Bruce Wayne Premium Edition that includes the rooted hair. There's also an all-in version, or the Batman Bruce Wayne Deluxe Edition. That one's $990, and it includes the Bruce Wayne figure, the Batman figure, all the accessories from the other versions, and the bat signal. I will also note that you can purchase the bat signal by itself for $185. Before we get into any more comparisons, let's talk about what Hot Toys is offering in terms of editions. I know this has already been talked to death, but just want to make sure I'm bringing this up here so we're talking apples to apples. So there's a Batman Collector Edition at $300. Now this price is from Sideshow, and this is before shipping or tax. as a reminder, you should try to find a retailer that has either no shipping costs or very low shipping costs and no sales tax. And that's a tactic that I like to use so I can support domestic shops. Or look for prices overseas, and we'll get into that a bit more later. But this collector edition comes with the Batman figure and various accessories. There's also a Batman Deluxe Edition at $375, and that comes with everything from the collector edition, but it also comes with some bonus accessories and a nicer display base that includes some LED light up functions and some modular ability. Then there's also the Batman and Bat Signal pack. That's coming in at $515, and it's got everything from the other versions, but obviously includes the Bat Signal. I will note that I did see this Batman figure and the bike and the Bat Signal at Comic-Con, and they all looked really, really good. So that's kind of informed my decision just a little bit. The first head-to-head we're going to do is on accessories. I'll note that the Hot Toys Deluxe Edition and Bat Signal Edition seem to have the edge when it comes to inclusion of the wingsuit and an LED base and some backdrop, but that's not as important. And then the InArt version seems to have the edge in terms of inclusion of rooted hair options, seemingly a magnetic base, an LED flashlight, and also offering a Bruce Wayne, which none of the Hot Toys options offer. So for my money, as I'm kind of thinking through, I really do want a Batman figure, so I think there's no getting around that. I do not care as much about the accessories, but there are some really cool ones included in both figures, and so I think I would probably prefer to have a version that has as many accessories as possible. And I really do want a Bat Signal. I wanted a Bat Signal from The Dark Knight, but obviously really missed out on that in terms of timing. Not to say that they won't reissue that again, but I really like the look of this Bat Signal. As I mentioned, I saw it in person. It's massive, so you've got to be prepared to find a spot in your collection for it. But so kind of as I do the calculus, I want a Bat Signal. Do I really need to pay for the InArt version? I haven't seen enough of that to say it's superior to the Hot Toys one. And I really like the value of the Batman and Bat Signal package for Hot Toys at $515 because you're getting all the accessories and the Bat Signal included. And I will note one thing I didn't mention earlier is Hot Toys has updated the Batman to include 2 different hairstyles now, so that's a nice little touch. And obviously they don't have a rooted option, but I'm more of a sculpted guy myself anyways, so I think I want a sculpted hair version of the Batman. And so I'm kind of leaning towards the Batman and Bat Signal at $515. But the InArt version looks so good, and so I'm also contemplating getting the Bat Cycle. So do I want 2 Batmen, one, next to the Bat Signal and one next to the bike, and, potentially a Batmobile down the line? So let's look at a few pictures more up close, and maybe I can help me along to make a decision on if I choose one or the other, or if I need to have both. Alright, so where Hot Toys had the slight edge in terms of accessories, let's go with another head-to-head and talk about the Batman suit overall. Now, I do think the Hot Toys looks really good. It does. And obviously this isn't a fair comparison because the pictures are shot very differently, but I think I have to give the edge to InArt. Something about it, and I can't quite put my finger on it, but something about it is a bit more lifelike. Either it's the proportions or the colors they've used or the tailoring. Something just looks a bit more like a Batman to me. And I think that the Hot Toys, maybe the chest is a bit undersized and the arms are a bit oversized. But yeah, I've got to go with InArt here. It just looks so fantastic. It looks like it came right off the screen. Again, I have heard some people say that the cape is a little bit short, and I am certain that that will get tuned up by InArt. So I'm less worried about that. But let's go with InArt here because, man, this is just stellar. For the next head-to-head, let's talk about head sculpt. Now, the Bruce Wayne head sculpt doesn't look as good to me, and I've also kind of already ruled out needing a Bruce Wayne. In the movie, that character was, he's not fully developed just yet. In the second Batman, I'm sure we will see more of the arrogant kind of facade Bruce Wayne, but it wasn't a big role in this. The Drifter was a bit more of the character I'd want some representation of. But yeah, it's close here. These both look very good. Obviously with the rooted hair, InArt looks a bit more lifelike, but I think that sculpts a bit more in the uncanny valley. I think the Hot Toys, to me, looks a bit more lifelike, and I don't know if it's the paint applications or just the resolution of the picture overall, but also the Hot Toys giving you two different hairstyles. I love that fact. And so I'm going to give the slight edge to Hot Toys, but I think InArt looks really great, and there's a lot of fine details there, and I think in hand, that's probably going to look stellar as well. So it's close to a tie, but let's go with Hot Toys. We're going to finish off this video with some final words on both releases. I will just say I am so excited that we're getting these two companies going head to head. At the end of the day, it's going to be the best thing for the consumer. Maybe not necessarily one-to-one for our pocketbooks, but in terms of quality, this is for sure going to bring out the best in both companies, and we're going to get some really great releases. And we're kind of already seeing it here with these prototypes and the updates the companies have been providing. I do also want to mention, since I didn't say it earlier, but there are likely Batmobiles on the way from both companies, so that should also be a consideration for you on which company you may want to go with a Batmobile for, extra room in the budget for that. Can you afford two Batmen and a Batmobile and the bike and the bat signal and all the companion pieces as mentioned earlier? So that's always some factors to consider. Now I will just say, in terms of how likely it is that we would see discounts on these figures, I'll start with InArt. They seem a bit more made to order, and we really won't know what stock will look like when the figures come out. But I will just mention that there's so many SKUs, right, that there are just likely to be stock available after the figure drops. And if you're going for the lower end rooted versions, I'm just going to assume that there will be some there after the pre-order period, after the figure releases. So I think that they're going to be pretty readily available, but it's definitely a gamble you'd have to take. I will give it 3 out of 5 smiling Ant-Man head sculpts in terms of the bargain bin potential. I don't think this one's going to go down significantly, but I could see it being around. And because Hot Toys also has an offering that in some respects is a bit cheaper, you might be able to get a discount on this guy if you're really patient. But again, that's a gamble you have to take because there's so many unknowns with InArt and what their rollout process will look like. Now, Hot Toys, I'm going to give it 4 out of 5 smiling Ant-Man head sculpts. Pretty high potential that, again, because there's multiple SKUs or SKUs, that there's going to be some discounts on one or multiple of these figures. And that if you're patient, you can end up with a really good deal, and you can, kind of add more room in the budget because you kind of let things play out. That's a gamble you'll have to take. The future's kind of unknown with what Hot Toys is going to be doing for their releases. Are they going to have smaller batches? We really don't know. We've kind of seen Hot Toys evolving here, but I think that you're going to be able to snag some of these, maybe 10% off, maybe more, especially the bat signal set. That one might be expensive to ship, so, that ultimately at the end of the day could be a good bargain bin candidate. Now, where I've landed after kind of looking through all the analysis, all the variables, as I do, I overthink these things like it's an important life decision. They're just dang toys that we're talking about here, but what I'm deciding to do, I'm going to go with the Batman and Bat Signal set from Hot Toys. I do want a Hot Toys version. I'm also going to go with the Bat Cycle because it's just such a cool bike, especially after seeing it at Comic-Con. It just looked really sweet. So I'm all in on those, and I think I'm going to go with the single pack rooted the Batman from InArt. Now, I could be persuaded to also go with the rooted version. Apologies if I said rooted and not sculpted earlier, but I could be persuaded to go for the higher end rooted version Batman, but I think I've completely ruled out needing a Bruce Wayne, needing a Bat Signal from InArt unless I see more and it's just so superior from Hot Toys, but I don't know that that's going to be the case. So yeah, let's go with the $515 set for the Hot Toys, and then the $380 set from InArt that includes the sculpted hair and most accessories. I'm not getting the Bat computer or the rooted hair. I think I can live with that though. So that's where I'm at currently. Don't be like me. Don't be a dummy and go and pre-order anything, because it just behooves you to wait right now. As I mentioned, all the variables are in your favor for some discounts, so just be patient. Don't panic buy anything. In terms of the InArt, the cutoff is September 22nd, so you've got a little while to kind of determine which version you're going to get. I'm going to do a bit more calculation, a bit more sleeping on it. I know InArt also released a video recently that shows a bit more posability when it comes to their figure, so I'm going to collect a bit more data and probably make a decision a bit closer to release. But another important factor for me is going to be shipping costs. So if I can get somewhere with a kind of a guaranteed cost in free shipping, I might go that route, much like I did with the Jokers that I got. So this concludes the latest bargain bin version, talking about both the InArt Batman and the Hot Toys Batman. If you enjoyed this video, please leave it a like, go check out the rest of our content, and we will catch you on the next one.